Right, Danny Garcia, Brandon Rios. Wow. I got a lot to say about it, but first, let's kick it off with this. Yes, the fight was a sham. It was dangerous, borderline negligence, okay? And both made Garcia and the sport of boxing look foolish. Criticize him and the promoters all you wish for that one. Okay, what are we talking about? We're talking about Rod, Salka, Danny Garcia, and I don't want to hear, oh, let it go, let it go. We'll get into it, okay, and I'll tell you why I'm bringing that up, okay? There's no defense for a unified champ fighting an unranked fighter from a weight division below. There is no defense for a unified champion pulling up an unranked, okay, unranked, not top 10, not top 20, an unranked fighter from a weight division below. Garcia's fans and his defenders would counter all your justifiable Salka criticisms by pointing out the Philadelphian has fought and beaten current or former world champions in 10 out of his last 11 bouts, okay? True, very true, but let's get in a little bit deeper, okay? It's a valid line of an argument, okay? But one that strengthens both cases, okay? That long line includes Nate Campbell, Eric Morales twice. No real need for the second fight. I mean, what the hell was Morales Garcia 2? Why? Okay, that's just a big. They should have labeled that fight with a big question mark, like or WTF, something like that. Zab Judah, Paulie Malignaggi, all whom, their best days clearly behind them. Now, why? I asked why. Why Zab Judah? Eric Morales twice? What? It's a name. Okay, it's an old promoter trick. We got look, it looks good, right? My guy beat Eric Morales, right? Zab Judah, right? But look, we're not talking about the Eric Morales back in the Barrera days or the Manny Pacquiao days. Back when Eric Morales was a beast. Okay, he was like one of my all-time favorites back then. It, still is to this day. We're talking about a washed-up, I need a paycheck Eric Morales. Okay. Again, you just look at this resume, right? Mauricio Herrera, clearly that was a robbery. I actually interviewed Herrera about a month or two after that fight. He was very upset. He told me that, he could feel it in the air. He knew he was the underdog. He knew, he just knew. He said he knew he was going to get robbed and something was not right. He went on to just talk about that. And what a shame. Okay, you got Rod Salka, Eric Morales, Zab Judah, Herrera, Lamont Peterson. Okay, we were live in my group during that fight a couple years back. We went live, right? We were live during the fight and after, and every single person, scored Lamont Peterson winning the decision. Now, the problem with that fight, when you're fighting a champion, number one, you got to win, and you got to win big. You got to win decisively. Okay, he didn't do enough in the beginning. Yes, I mean, I will admit that. Lamont Peterson, but he was toying with him. It was like a cat and a mouse. He controlled the fight. Talk about ring generalship, but the problem was, like I always scream and yelled, that let your hands go. Like these boxers, you can't win a box, you can't win a fight, looking good. You gotta let your hands go. And eventually he did, but it wasn't enough to decisively win. But nonetheless, I had him winning. I had Lamont Peterson winning, by decision. So, okay, now remember, after the Matisse fight, now look, I give Danny Garcia a ton of credit for the Lucas Matisse fight, but after that, even the Amir Khan fight, okay, but after the Matisse fight, he's got the belt, okay, there was Victor Postol lurking in the shadows, right? You had Victor Postol, which now we know, what the hell happened to him, who knows, but back then he was a real threat. Okay, what does he do? He fights Paulie Malignaggi, right? It's like, okay, wait a minute. Wait. You got Victor Postol right here on the back burner, and we're getting Paulie Malignaggi? Like, what? It's crazy. When you look at this resume and the fact that you can just Google Danny Garcia and hit Google Images, and it's, cherries and, Danny Garcia, what is it? Cherry ice cream, right? Danny Gift Garcia, things like this. Okay. And then you got his father, yelling at, Keith Thurman during their fight, all kinds of different things, which I'm not going to mention because I just can't anymore on YouTube, but you know what I'm talking about. Very derogatory comments towards Keith Thurman and his background and whatnot, just being incredibly disrespectful. Now, look, Before I move on to the actual matchup, I want to say this. I don't think Danny Garcia should be allowed to fight ever again. After that Rod Salka fight, they should have pressed charges. I mean, look, not only should they have pressed charges, but the commission for approving that fight, whoever was in charge, should have just had the hammer drop on them, right? I mean, like, somebody should have lost their job. I mean, you guys, look, unless you've been in a boxing ring, I mean, you don't understand how incredibly dangerous this sport is, okay? And I don't know if you've ever been hit by a boxing glove, but it doesn't feel like a pillow, okay? You know, grab a phone book and have your friends smack you in the head as hard as you can, and that's about what it feels like, you know, but add a knuckle or two in there. But it is, you know, it's not what you think, okay? And when I see things like that, it's criminal to me. It's criminal. It's disturbing. And, you know, for that reason and that reason alone, I have no respect whatsoever for Danny Garcia. None. Zero. Like I said, I think he should be banned from boxing. Okay. But nonetheless, we got Danny Garcia and Brandon Rios. Now, Brandon Rios, let's move on, okay? Rios, Bradley, you know, good comeback. Alvarado, Chavez, Pacquiao, you know, Murray. Now, look, one story I want to tell you guys. I was covering a fight. It was a Juan Diaz fight. It was a top-rank event. And Mike Alvarado was on the undercard, so I got to actually watch the Juan Diaz fight with Mike Alvarado. So I'm hanging out with Alvarado. He just had his fight. He goes back to the dressing room, comes out. Me and him are just chilling, right? Me and him and like two other fans just chilling there watching the fight. And I said, dude, I was like, what happened in the Rios fight? And he said, man, he goes, it was my eye. You know, I had an eye injury, which we all know that's not true, right? You know, he said that he hurt his eye and had to quit, you know, that kind of thing. But when he was telling me that, I didn't want to embarrass him and go, oh, come on, man. Like, you know, there was legal problems, drinking, drugs, things like that. But one thing he said to me that resonated, the point I'm getting at, is he told me, the problem Rios has is he cannot commit himself to boxing. He can't devote himself. You know, he's kind of hot and cold, hit or miss. You know, you never know what you're going to get with Brandon Rios. You know, you take that on top of all the wars he had. And look, I'm a huge advocate. Like, one thing I will say about Mayweather, you know, he talks about the longevity in boxing. So does Roy Jones. You know, how you have to preserve yourself as a boxer. You know, you can't get in these wars. Prime example, look at Ruslan Provodnikov, okay? Look at Lucas Matisse, although he came back, looked great. You know, you look at these guys, like, you know, and I put Brandon Rios in that category. He's simply taken too many shots. Even to Timothy Bradley, you know, just a warrior. I mean, that Provodnikov fight, oh my God. You know, I'm talking about Bradley and Provo. Okay, I put Brandon Rios in that category. I don't want to call him damaged goods because I think that's incredibly disrespectful, but I mean that in the most respectful way, that he is damaged goods. He's taken a lot of punishment, and you know, you just don't know what you're going to get. You simply don't know what you're getting with Brandon Rios. So, you know, and I think on the other side of the playing field, you have Danny Garcia. He's incredibly, you know, terrified, you know, to pick another cherry or, you know, that kind of thing. So, you know, it's not a bad matchup, especially, you know, coming off of a loss against Keith Thurman. You know, I would call it a tune-up fight, a comeback fight, whatever. But, you know, this could be an underdog story. You know, Brandon Rios, he has the ability for an upset. Is it going to happen? Likely no. It's likely not. It won't happen. But you know, so this particular matchup, I can't really criticize them too much. Okay, but the rest of it, I damn sure can. Now, I'll make a prediction video pretty soon, but I just wanted to kind of talk about just the overall atmosphere right now, right? Like, let's talk about the elephant in the room, and you know, let's just get down to it. And that's the problem I have with Danny Garcia. So, you know, I don't know. I mean, what do you guys think? Am I being too hard on him? I don't think I am. I don't like I said, the way his father is incredibly disrespectful, and you know, they just seem, I don't know, they seem like they're just kind of milking boxing, right? I mean, you know, like I say, you can't have two fights with Eric Morales and claim that you're not milking boxing for a paycheck. And that's what I see with these guys. So, but we'll see. We'll see, you know, and look at the Thurman fight. You know, whenever Garcia finally went up against a quality opponent, you know, he got beat. He got schooled. He got completely schooled by Keith Thurman, you know. So, And again, I think he also got schooled by Lamont Peterson, but, I don't know. But I guess, there's not a big fan following, there's not a big, rally behind Lamont Peterson. So there wasn't this big outrage, which is a shame because, like I said, I saw a cat toying with a mouse in that fight is what I saw. But, yeah, Brandon Rios, what is he now? 31 years old. Okay, 34, 3-1, 31 years old. Yeah, he's getting up there in age, but you can't call him old. Look at Gennady Golovkin, 36. You can't call him old, but, Danny Garcia definitely has youth on his side, skill, power, all the above. And the fight will be at welterweight. So, February 17th, Mandalay Bay, Showtime. Two-division world champ against former world champion Brandon Rios. What do you guys think? Who do you have? Leave your comment below.